Bahasa Indonesia atau bahasa Inggris?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for attending this meeting. Ade, please mute Ibu Ika first. Okay, thank you. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for attending the meeting. Apologize that we are late because we need to wait for the our source in Bengkulu to join. So this is, let me introduce you to everyone here. So we are in a discussion on the gender angle of our newest global collaboration, global sand mining. And then we have our reporter here as a speaker, and also we invite the community. So I will introduce you one by one. First is, so we published article titled "Woman Again Dreams," and the story came from Kenya, Indonesia, India, and then Cambodia. So here we have Sharon from Kenya. Sharon, can you introduce yourself? Sharon, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I can. My name is Sharon Atieno. I'm a journalist and an editor at Science Africa, a Nairobi-based media house in Kenya. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. And we have Monica from India. Monica, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Monica from India. I'm a freelance journalist, and I'm really glad to be part of this collaboration and really glad to see so many women in this room right now. So, hello.
Okay, thank you so much. And then we have Nyimas from Indonesia.
Hi everyone, my name is Nyimas Laula and I'm a freelance photojournalist based in Bali, Indonesia. Most of my work also focus on environmental issues and human rights issues in Indonesia. I'm very happy to be part of this collaboration as we are visiting like Bengkulu and meeting the community in Pasar Seluma.
Okay, thank you, Nyimas, sorry. I myself, I'm Febriana Firdaus. I'm the managing editor of the environmental reporting collective. So, so the idea of why we have a separate article or issue on a gender, because I think it is important to give voice to this woman who impacted the woman community, who impacted by the global sand mining around the world. And we also make sure that our global reporting follow the gender balance reporting guideline. So as you know, in the invitation, we mentioned that we encourage our reporter to avoid all male source. So we encourage them to talk with the woman, with the housewife, or even like the all the community that include women. So okay, I'm so happy that all the speakers here. So maybe I will start with Sharon in Kenya. Sharon, can you tell me about the first time when I asked you about reporting about the impact of the global sand mining to the women community in Kenya? So what was on your mind at that time, and finally, and then you can find a story about a woman. Her name is Atieno. Can you tell us her story?
Okay, so the first time you told me to report the gender perspective, at first I had no idea what exactly I was supposed to say about the women, because for me, what was on my mind was just the environmental impact. But when I went to the ground in Homa Bay County, I found that women are also being impacted by the sand mining, the sand harvesting issue, because women are losing their children, women are losing their husbands, women themselves are taking part in sand mining for as a source of livelihood, some of them, and even like even the young girls, you find that they've been affected also by the sand harvesting activities. So the story of Mary Atieno stood out for me mainly because this is a woman who is a widow. The woman is a farmer, and because she's a widow, she depends only on her farming. But at the moment, as we are talking, she's afraid that her home is going to collapse soon because of the sand mining activities that were happening in her neighbor's compound. So the neighbor practiced sand harvested harvested sand from his land. But then the site that was abandoned keeps on eroding. Erosion is taking place on the abandoned sand harvesting site because no reclamation has taken place there. And this erosion, Mary is afraid that it is going to end up affecting her portion of the land and her house is going to be destroyed. Where the erosion is taking place, the distance between the place where the erosion is taking place and Mary's land is just about it's just a few meters, something that is not even a stone throw away. It's very close to her. So if she was saying when we did the interview with her, she was saying that if it rains heavily, her land will collapse. Her home, she will no longer have a home because her land will also be consumed. And being that there is another river banks and joins this sand harvesting site that has been abandoned, it will spread and reach her home and also consume her home. Yet she has no husband who will rebuild the home for her. And since she's a smallholder farmer, she doesn't even have that much money. So she's worried that her home will collapse if no action is taken to reclaim the sand harvesting site. Atieno also lost her nephew who would come to her home occasionally because the boy saw the sand harvesting site as a place where he could gain extra income for his family. So in Kenya, children are not allowed to work. Children under the age of 18 are not allowed to work. That one is classified as child labor, and it is a crime. But you find, being that these villages are remote and in the rural areas, you find that in the evening, as sand harvesting has taken place in the evening when people are, from around 6 p.m., you find that these children, they are the people owning the sand mining sites, or the people who are coming to harvest the sand. They give them jobs that they do for about $1 or $2. So as this boy together with his friend were working, it's in the evening and it is dark. So they are harvesting the sand. They are not even seeing how they're carrying out these activities. So the sand mine collapsed and killed the two of them. While the other boys, there were around 7 boys. So the other boys ran while these two, the sand mine collapsed on them. So they died. It took actually almost the whole night. It took until the next day at 12 p.m. for one of the bones to be recovered. So sand mining, sand harvesting is affecting women. It is taking out their children. Is a widow, and most of them, being that they're in the rural areas, you find they don't have proper education. So they depend on the kind of lands that they have to do smallholder farming. They just do a small scale farming, something that is practiced on 1 acre or 2 acres or even less than that. So you find if the neighbor harvests sand from his end, this woman might be affected by that sand mining activity in case that area is not rehabilitated. This is the case of Mary Atieno in my story. Thank you, Febri. Febri, you are muted.
Sorry, because the admin mute me, of course, because it's loud here. Okay, so I have one question for you. That remember when you told me the story about because of the sand mining, the expansion of sand mining in Homa Bay County, Kenya, Africa. So you say that many of the sand mining, the farmland turned into sand mining harvesting, and that's why, including like the farmland of the family of the Mary, right? And it changed the diet. So some of the food, it's hard to find some of the food that actually usually like we can find it there. Can you tell that story about the change of the diet because of the farmland turned into sand harvesting?
Yes, I can tell you. So now you see, most of the lands actually in Homa Bay County, I realized that most of the sand harvesting sites were formerly farmlands where people used to grow a lot of food. So when I spoke to some of the miners and also the elders, people who had lived there for a long time, they will tell you that this used to be here. Somebody used to grow maybe groundnuts, somebody used to grow things like cassava. And then these are drought resistant crops that last long. So you find even during the drought season. So you find that because people are no longer growing this cassava, people are no longer growing these drought resistant crops because they've given their lands for sand harvesting site. You find that during the drought season, people have to now buy food from elsewhere. So you find the rate of production has gone down. These drought resistant crops that were being grown in this area are no longer being grown. So you find they have to spend more money to buy food from other places. As a matter of fact, if people don't have money, some of them have to just survive with one meal, or maybe drink porridge, or just eat one meal a day instead of now the consistent 3 meals a day. So these are some of because like for there is a woman I interviewed with her husband. You find in their portion of land they used to grow a lot of cassava, but here cassava takes like 9 months to grow. So they found that this was too long for them. So now they decided they will give their land for harvesting sand. But now you
Yeah,
find
yeah.
the kind of crops they're now growing are crops like banana and maybe maize, and they're not even growing it large scale. They're just growing it in a small portion. It's not as productive as it would have been when they grew cassava, because now they also have to use the money that they're getting from the sand harvesting to buy other food crops from outside. The
Yeah.
chief of the area, the chief of the
Okay.
area was telling, yeah,
Yeah.
so that was the
So
issue.
they they got more money from the sand harvesting, but also it is only short time because after that they need more money to buy food outside, right? Correct?
Yes, that's the issue.
Yeah, because they no longer have farmland anymore because they turned the farmland into sand harvesting because they feel like, oh, we will get more money, but it turns out like it costs more money because they have to buy food. They no longer can produce their own food. That's why some of these people don't really eat cassava anymore, and they, even though they have to eat, they have to buy it, and it's more expensive than growing the cassava itself, right?
Yes, that's the issue. That's the
Yeah.
case.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon, for sharing. So, if in Kenya the people, uh, in Kenya, like the woman already feel like the impact of the sand mining. They cannot provide the traditional food anymore. They cannot grow their own food anymore, and also their house collapses. So and this is like the similar thing that we found in Indonesia, actually, the same pattern that in actually I was a reporter, so even though I managed the global collaboration, but I think it will be great if I also like go to the field together with Nyimas Laula here. That's why I asked Nyimas here. So Nyimas is the photographer and videographer that traveled with me to Bengkulu. So that we found the similar thing happen that people right now, it happened already in Kenya, but it's not happened yet in Bengkulu. But Nyimas can explain. It's starting to threaten the food security and also the it's impacted directly to the woman. And then Nyimas can invite Bu Fitri after that.
Okay. So when I arrived in Pasar Seluma, it was a long ride from Bengkulu. I remember, I think I went through a very long ride through the like a beaten road and covered with palm oil plantation. I think the plantations around hundreds of kilometers, hundreds of meters, a few kilometers before Pasar Seluma. So if you see like the village, Pasar Seluma is located very near the ocean. And then like this is where the woman lives. Of course, the sand mining, the mine itself, it's also near the ocean, near where this woman lives. And the way that this woman really depend on the beach itself, because it is source of their food. We call the woman and Bu Fitri also usually daily they search for proteins, and it's called like a small clams, they call it remis. And this sand mining itself harboring a lot of this food that's vital for the community in Pasar Seluma, including also some fish in the river, and then some shrimp as well. And with the activity of the mining, it's going to change the dynamic of the food security in the village, because they can no longer search for food, because they extract the iron from the sand. It's gonna change the landscape of the beaches. And then it's also funny when I was there with Febri, a few times we were going through not going through the road to get into one place to another, but we went through the beach to go to our destination, because the beach itself that contains iron, they consider it as the toll road of the village. So you can imagine how like this beach that has like the iron sand that created not only the food, but also like the transport and the way that they are going through one way of another, because another long road going through the palm oil is longer, and it's a beaten road, especially during the rainy season. It's very hard to go through that road with motorbikes because it's getting muddy. Yeah, so I think Bu Fitri can explain more and tell her story, how the journey and the fighting against the sand mining company in their village. And Bu Fitri is also one of the women who got captured in 2010. Is it correct? 2010, because they were protesting inside the sand mining.
Oke, thank you Nyimas. Halo Bu Fitri. Bu Fitri, bisa dinyalakan mikrofonnya dan kameranya Bu Fitri. Yeah, so Bu Fitri was arrested during the protest. So we want to hear the story from Bu Fitri. Bu Fitri bisa cerita ya kehidupan Bu Fitri dulu sehari-hari, terus bagaimana ceritanya Ibu bisa tertangkap waktu itu? cerita dulu kehidupan sehari-hari Ibu bagaimana, terus ceritanya bagaimana, terus di kejadian hari itu ketika Ibu tertangkap. Bu Fitri, can you tell the story of your daily life and then how you got arrested? Bu Fitri, halo Bu Fitri. Can someone text Bu Fitri, Nyimas? Bu Fitri, Bu Fitri, ayo Bu Fitri. Sorry guys, I need to. Halo Bu Fitri,
Ya, halo.
Ya, bisa diceritakan sehari-harinya bagaimana Ibu?
Ya, perkenalkan dulu sebelumnya nama saya Fitri Handayani dari Bengkulu, Seluma. Terus di sini saya ingin menceritakan bagaimana kami masyarakat Pasar Seluma menolak tambang. Sebelumnya saya perjelas kalau untuk ditahan itu saya bukan tahun 2010, namun saya ditangkap pada tahun 2021. Di sini kami masyarakat menolak tambang dari tahun 2009 sampai sekarang berlanjut sampai ke tahun 2022. Sekarang masih berlanjut menolak tambang. Terus di sini kami menceritakan bagaimana menolak tambang. Sekarang kami secara masyarakat Pasar Seluma menolak tambang dengan keras. Terus dan di samping kami menolak tambang, kami terus mencari nafkah, mencari makan untuk sehari-hari, dan makanan itu berasal dari isi-isi laut. Terus di sini sebagai kami menolak tambang, kami terus mencari-cari untuk bagaimana cara tambang itu pergi dari desa kami. Tunggu dulu, Pep.
Kenapa?
Susah didengar, sulit didengar suaranya.
Enggak, bisa didengar kok.
Pindah-pindah tempat dulu, Pep.
Oke. Terus dilanjutkan, terus bagaimana?
Nggak bisa dengar? Pep?
Sudah bisa dengar.
Ya, sudah. Di sini saya ingin menceritakan kronologis kami pembubaran secara paksa. Di sini awal perjuangan tahun 2020, tahun 2009 terus berlanjut ke tahun 2010.
Halo Ibu, internetnya jelek Ibu, internetnya jelek.
Berlanjut ke 2010.
Internetnya jelek, mending di tempat yang tadi.
Udah bisa, Pep?
Internetnya jelek.
Kataku, di situ nih kedengaran nih. Ini tuh nanti nak waktu kedengaran cerita.
Di depan aja, jelek internetnya.
Udah bisa dengar, Pep? Di sini saya ingin menceritakan perjuangan di tahun 2009 dan berakhir pada tahun 2010. Di tahun 2009 kami masyarakat Pasar Seluma menolak tambang dengan keras, tapi masalah perjuangan di tahun 2009 ini bukan ibu yang terdepan, cuman bapak-bapak yang terdepan. Di sini bapak-bapak menolak tambang dengan secara halus, awal permulaan penolak tambang, dan terus berakhir dengan tindak kekerasan. Dan saya tidak bisa menceritakan di tahun 2009 dan pada tahun 2010 karena kronologisnya saya tidak melihat dengan secara kasat mata. Dan terus yang di tahun 2021 dan sampai sekarang tahun 2023 kami masyarakat Pasar Seluma masih menolak tambang dengan konsisten. Terus kami ingin menceritakan kronologis kronologis penolak tambang di awal kami memasuki tambang lokasi tambang 2021. Di awal permulaan kami masuk tambang, sebenarnya kami ingin memastikan
Bu Fitri nggak usah baca, Ibu cerita aja apa adanya. Ibu cerita aja kejadiannya itu bagaimana, Ibu-ibu. Kan waktu itu bulan Desember 2000 berapa itu?
2009 itu
2000, bukan yang 2020 ya.
2021.
2021. Nah, Ibu cerita aja, Ibu berangkat dari rumah terus bagaimana? Cerita aja, nggak usah baca dan nggak usah Ibu Ika, jangan intervensi dulu, Bu Fitri dulu ngomong sendiri.
Sebenarnya HP itu yang ini, yang agak internetnya agak hilang.
Iya, oke. Sekarang Ibu cerita, Ibu berangkat dari rumah terus bagaimana?
Berangkat dari rumah Pak itu pada tanggal 26 Desember 2021 itu awal kami memasuki lokasi tambang dengan masyarakat ingin memperlihat atau memperjelas bagaimana lokasi tambang yang sebenarnya yang yang diisukan secara tidak jelas. Nah, jadi kami masyarakat ibu-ibu Pasar Seluma ingin memastikan apa yang sebenarnya terjadi di lokasi tambang. Dan pada saat itu kami itu memang tidak ada niat ingin bermalam. Kami ingin memastikan dengan adanya atau tidak adanya tambang pasir besi itu. Namun pada kenyataannya yang kami lihat tambang sudah bekerja. Di sini kami melihat tambang pasir besi itu sudah bekerja dan timbul niat kami ingin bermalam di lokasi tambang pasir besi. Dan seterusnya kami ingin meminta bantuan dari para yang kami ingin meminta bantuan dari pemerintah yang ada di Kabupaten Seluma. Sebenarnya kami minta penjelasan, minta kepastian, minta keterangan dengan pemerintah di Pasar Seluma. Namun pada kenyataannya kami tidak diberikan
penjelasan.
Kami tidak diberikan keputusan yang pasti, namun kami maju diminta bernegosiasi terus. Dan terus kami pada saat itu sebenarnya kami ingin kepastian dari pemerintah di rumah supaya tambang ini segera ditutup atau bagaimana caranya supaya tambang ini tidak beroperasi. Namun pada kenyataannya lain yang kami pikirkan, lain yang kami pinta di saat itu, namun yang terjadi kami dibubarkan secara paksa. Di pembubaran itu kami dipaksa oleh aparat kepolisian untuk meninggalkan tambang pasir besi. Namun ibu-ibu bersisi keras untuk tidak meninggalkan tambang pasir besi itu. Namun nyatanya kami terus dibubarkan secara paksa. Dan di situ kronologisnya terlibat anak-anak, ibu-ibu, bahkan ada 2 anak kecil yang dibubarkan secara paksa dan ditarik-tarik oleh aparat kepolisian. Dan salah satunya saya yang diamankan oleh pihak kepolisian di Polres Lumah. Dan di situ ibu-ibu yang ditinggalkan dibubarkan secara paksa. Saya diambil oleh pihak kepolisian, dibawa ke Polres Lumah. Di Polres Lumah saya dimintai keterangan. Dan di situ sampai Polres Lumah saya diminta dan polisi menanyakan ibu sebenarnya mau apa dan maksud apa tujuan ibu-ibu di Pasar Seluma menolak tambang, sedangkan itu tambang pasir besi sudah ada sudah lengkap izinnya, kata pihak kepolisian. Cuman saya jawab, kami tidak mau tahu ada atau tidak ada izinnya. Kami tidak menginginkan tambang. Bagaimana caranya supaya tambang itu pergi? Kami harus bersisi-keras untuk mengusir tambang. Dan habis di situ belum beberapa menit dan teman saya ada satu lagi ibu-ibu yang diamankan oleh pihak kepolisian, yaitu Ibu Ita. Dan di situ kami diamankan oleh pihak kepolisian, 2 perempuan, 4 laki-laki. Dan habis di situ kami nginap di Polres 2 hari 1 malam, diamankan oleh pihak kepolisian. Dan di situ polisi maju menegaskan bahwa tambang pasir besi itu sudah melengkapi izin. Namun kami tidak menghiraukan itu dan di pemikiran saya walaupun tambang sudah ada surat izinnya, kami tidak menghiraukan izinnya ada. Kami tetap menolak walaupun surat izinnya lengkap.
Oke, terima kasih Bu. Nah, waktu Ibu ditangkap, apakah waktu itu Ibu istilahnya? Apakah waktu itu Ibu mendapat ancaman atau teror dari pihak-pihak tertentu selama Ibu berjuang untuk menolak tambang ini?
Kalau untuk ancaman itu tidak ada, cuman kalau omongan itu ada yang terdengar. Kalau saya nekat gitu, kalau seumpamanya saya nekat terus menolak tambang dan dipastikan saya itu gak bakal masuk penjara aja itu. Cuman saya tidak menghiraukan itu dan saya tetap fokus sama perjuangan.
Oke, terima kasih Bu ya. Nanti kita lanjutkan lagi ya, pasti ada yang tanya. Terima kasih Bu Fitri.
Ya,
That's like the story of Ibu Fitri, one of the women that arrested by the police during the protest. So she was released only a day after she was arrested. But she said that she was threatened many times. You will go to jail, but she kept insisting to fight against this powerful sand mining. So you can ask questions to her after we give a chance to Monica to tell the story from India. Monica, so this woman from India that covered by Monica, they were jailed already. So we will hear the story from India, presented by Monica. Hi, Monica, are you here?
Yeah, sure, I'm here.
Can you share the story about the woman who were jailed?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and thanks a lot for bringing Buffet's story that is so heart-wrenching, but also very inspiring. So my colleague Shamsheed and I brought 2 stories from India, and one is about how a minor girl and 5 women, they were harassed, beaten up, and jailed for opposing sand mining in their village. In February last year, the police and the district administration, they arrived with a large force to demarcate a sand mine on a river in these women's village. And the residents of the village were protesting against it because there was no sand mining in that place earlier, and residents didn't want one there. And so the police fired tear gas into the crowd and then started beating up and chasing men and women. A lot of women ran away, ran back to their village and hid themselves in their homes. But the cops chased them. And the women say that cops were also assisted by some goons of the sand mining mafia who were earlier illegally mining in that area. And they chased women, and they broke into their houses. They broke down windows and doors of their houses, and they got into their houses, dragged the women out, and took all of them back to the riverbank where they were protesting in the first place. And finally, one minor girl and 5 other women, they were handcuffed with pieces of their own clothing, like the palus of their saris and their dupattas, which they used to cover their upper bodies. Those were taken off them, which they found extremely humiliating in public, and they were handcuffed with those pieces of clothes. The police also beat them up very badly, including one disabled woman in her 50s. And these women were then jailed, and they spent 37 days in jail. And getting them out on bail was tough because some of them had to sell their land, some of them had to borrow from private moneylenders at very high interest rates to get themselves out on bail because they did not have enough savings to ensure that. One girl, she missed out on writing her 10th board exams, which is an important exam to get into university. She had to miss out on that, and also her wedding was fixed for the next month. And the wedding was called off because the bridegroom's family did not want to make an alliance with a girl who was jailed. And now her education and her prospects of marriage both are sort of derailed because of that. And these women, they know the real risks of opposing sand mining because they were jailed and beaten up and everything, but they still are not willing to give up because they know their lives are at stake. Because they told us their opposition stems from fear that because of sand mining, groundwater will get depleted, it will flood their farmlands, and it will reduce their crop production. And it will eventually change the course of the village and wash away it will change the course of the river, which will eventually wash away their entire village. And there is also one important factor, a historical caste conflict at play here, which can't be ignored. The village from which these women come from, that's a Yadav village, which sits in the middle of the Indian caste hierarchy. And the miners come from a supposed upper caste. And there has been a historical oppression and dispossession of the supposedly lower caste people by the oppressive caste. And now the miners are from the supposed upper caste, and police and the government are siding with them, or at least the women look at it that way. And they feel like it's an ongoing saga of dispossession and oppression, and that's why they are against it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Monica, for covering this story, very sensitive story. So as you see that we heard from story about a woman from 3 countries with different scale and level of impact. So first is that women start to lose their farmland, and it changed the diet, it changed their ability to provide food for the family. And also they began to lose house, which also happened in Cambodia actually, in across the Mekong region, especially next to the Mekong River, because of the sand mining, many of house collapses. So this and then this also the food security problem also experienced by the women in Indonesia, where they also against the sand mining. They even got arrested for that. But in India, the level is even more dangerous, where the woman get killed, and even like they have to borrow some money, right, to get released from the jail or from the prison. So I would like to offer everyone, if you have any question or you want to know more detail about this story of this woman, now it's time for you to raise your hand, and the interpreter will help you to translate the question. Anyone here want to share, or in on our YouTube social media? Carol, do you have any comment? Maybe Carol is our editor in ERC. He just joined us last year, like in May, I think. Not in May, in April. Carol, do you have any question or anyone here?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, good afternoon, Carol.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much to all of our speakers, Nyimas, Fitri, and Monica. I guess maybe if I could just ask a question, primarily maybe related also to the other session that we will also hold later this week. Particularly on the challenges that journalists also face in covering these stories. I was wondering if you may be able to share your experience when reporting on sand mining, or perhaps other stories related to environment in general. Thank you very much. And whether there are aspects related, because you are a woman, there are unique challenges that you also face. Thank you.
Okay, who wants to start? Who wants to start to answer? Anyone? Carol, what is like the question actually? Sorry.
Hi, everyone. I was just wondering, because I'm also preparing for the session later this week, particularly on the challenges faced by women journalists. I was wondering whether there are unique challenges that
Yeah,
you
okay.
encounter when reporting on stories in general, or particularly on environmental stories, whether there is something unique, especially because you are a woman, that there are other challenges that you might be facing. And hello to Sharon also. Yes, Sharon is
Yeah.
here. Hi, Sharon. Thank
Okay,
you.
Nyimas, do you want to start? I need to call the name so then we can speak.
Okay, I can start. So when Febri invited me on this collaborative project, she asked me to do both photo and video. That's also one of the challenges that I face, because I mainly cover for pictures and stills, but because we have to also like interview the woman in Pasar Seluma, so we need like video. Generally, I think getting the access and the access to get the picture and then the photographs and the video of the sand mining was quite difficult, because the woman in Pasar Seluma also make roadblocks on the entrance of the sand mining. So we have to go around the beaches, which is taking about an hour ride from the village to the spot where we can see like the activities of the mine. And during that time I was unable to capture the activities when they are operating, maybe because it stopped because they just have recently protested by the women. So yeah, that's the one of the challenges I think in covering this story. The access to Pasar Seluma was also quite difficult. It was, I think, around 3 hours, right, from Bengkulu, and then around the village. Also, you can see like in the photographs, there is like divide already where some communities or some people are supporting the mining. That's when we have to be careful not to ignite any conflict within the village as well.
Yeah, I remember when I give instruction to Nyimas that Nyimas, make sure you don't wear any
Yeah.
clothes that can I mean any nice clothes, just like
Yeah. That's also funny
wear.
because February was kind of like reviewing my clothes, like my assignment clothes. So that's also kind of like yeah, that's the first time for me, because usually I just like wear regular shirt, but then if I wear those outfit in Pasar Seluma, I still will stand out, you know, from the rest of
Yeah.
the women. So
Yeah, because I know that he is very fashionable photographer with all that fancy clothes. I just want to make sure she wear like the right clothes. I don't want everyone pay attention. I don't want her to be the spotlight when she enter the village. So I just read you. What about this? Okay, you can wear that. No makeup, no makeup. Just make sure no makeup. It's not Bali. It's not Jakarta. It's Bengkulu. So it's important to wear the clothes that people wear there. That's my first thing that I review from her, and then the rest we just make sure we don't make any move that people realize that we are reporters. So we just blend with all these women together. So I think that's like even like me personally, Carol, when I interview this woman, because we are women, yeah. So when we interview women crying, how do you feel? Like, of course, you feel touched. Like, I'm trying not to cry, so that's very hard for me. So maybe Monica can tell more about that. Monica, what do you think? I think it's very hard for India story.
Yeah, I was just like listening in to both of you, and I felt like, yeah, you guys like could read my mind about the clothes. Yeah, it's funny, but I have just tried not to think about that, because I have realized over years of reporting that I can't blend in, and you own up to it, and then you just go in. And body language, I think, plays a more important part. If you they'll always bring you a chair when all of them will sit on a floor mat. So if I make sure I join them there, I guess the difference of clothes and the way we talk, we can sort of maybe find a common ground sometimes that way. So clothes and hair, we can't really change. So I try not to think much about that, because in India, women wear sari, and I don't want to make it look like a fancy dress competition, because it's also I also don't want to pretend that I am one of them and I understand what exactly they're going through. I am trying to be, so empathy is fine, but pretending to be one of them is, I think, pushing it. Uh, and trying not to cry. I struggle with that. I struggle with that a lot. So for me, this story, when Febri mentioned that she wanted gender stories, I was actually very excited. I found it highly reassuring that it came from the ERC first before I mentioned it, because as a freelancer over the last 9 years, my work often explores societal issues from a perspective of marginalization. I look at caste and gender primarily to show, to examine how marginalized people bear a bigger burden of what we do as a society. So caste and gender has always been central to my work. And here, when Febriana was very excited about gender stories as well as caste stories, I was like, okay, this looks like it's going to be a good collaboration. But the challenges that Carol was asking about here, the sheer scale of crime in Bihar was astounding. Uh, it's uh, it was just mind-boggling, extremely scary. Uh, we didn't know. My colleague Shamshir Yusuf and I would just try to talk a lot about it so that we know about what each one of us was thinking, what we had found from sources on the ground. But a lot of times we just like sit in silence and just stare and like try to gaze how scared the other person is. So no pretending we were scared about it, because there are stories of people getting killed and buried in sands, bodies never being found, and things like that. So it was kind of scary. And more than clothes, what we thought we would stand out for was equipment, because Febriana was very insistent that she wanted visuals. And we were like, okay, that sounds challenging, but we would try. So we carried cameras and tripods and monopods and stuff. And when we would open the car boot and take out equipment, uh, people thought we were bringing out automatic weapons. And yeah, but they were kind of, it was so normalized. Like the sight of weapons is so normalized in that part that people would just look at me, especially because like they don't expect a woman to be probably walking around with an AK-47, but AK-47 is not really a rare sight. So working in that kind of setup was challenging. It's a rural, extremely patriarchal setup that we were working in. So getting access to people to speak to, and especially when you're speaking to women, even if it's a story about a mother who has lost her son or a woman who is jailed, men would insist that they could tell that story better. A story of the woman getting beaten up, the husband would insist that he could tell it better. And a lot of times, like you have to cajole them, you have to sometimes chide them, and sometimes just outright humiliate them to just shut up and let the woman talk. And women usually would not speak up in bigger crowds because they are just not used to it. So that was hard. And the caste conflict, like Numa mentioned, that there are two sides to the whole mining conflict. There is one part which is propagating it, and one party that's opposing it. And here there are historical issues linked to caste, and caste-related violence in Bihar has been a huge issue in the past, and we didn't want to flare up any of those sentiments, but exactly those were what we were sort of scratching at the same time. So we had to be really, really careful from body languages, from tiny inflections in how people spoke. We had to try and gaze what changed. Like one person would walk in and sit in the far corner, and the whole crowd, the dynamics would change. How people spoke, what they were talking about, they would suddenly stutter, not look at us, and we had to just try and read why that might have happened. And that's how we got the best of the story, though.
Yeah, congratulations, and we really like appreciate your hard work. It's if you see that all that video from the India story about the woman is on all of our website, in all over of the website of ERC website, because that's like the best you can get. So you can see the level of difficulty of and how dangerous in Bihar reporting that story in Bihar, because journalists can get killed. And very like interesting when Marika said that the woman they don't used to speak in a bigger crowd, and the men usually want to take over. That's happened also to me when I report that story. So the man always like, I can tell the story. No. This time the woman needs to speak by themselves. I don't need any man telling the story about the struggle of this woman. Like for example, in Pasar Seluma, we don't need that. It's time for the woman to tell their own story. It's important. I mean, like how you don't understand because you're not a woman. First, to be a woman is different from to be a man, and then secondly, you didn't experience that. So that's very important that we get all these women force here. So maybe I want to ask Sharon. Sharon is not here. Okay. So maybe I will like anyone want to ask to Ibu Fitri want to learn something from Ibu Fitri. I can start. Yeah, maybe yeah. You guys, Monica, you can ask anything to Ibu Fitri after this or Carol. Ibu Fitri, Ibu Fitri, Ibu Fitri, saya mau tanya. Jadi setelah apa ya? Setelah Ibu mengalami apa ya? Perjuangan bertahun-tahun kan, terus kemudian Ibu ditahan oleh polisi. Apakah Ibu merasa trauma ketika Ibu bertemu dengan polisi yang sekedar lewat di depan rumah misalnya? Karena kan waktu itu kan ada banyak polisi gitu. Apakah Ibu masih merasa trauma saat ini dengan mungkin ada 1-2 polisi lewat di depan rumah begitu?
Iya. Kalau untuk trauma sih sampai sekarang alhamdulillah enggak trauma. Cuman kalau takut masalah polisian itu pasti takut ya. Semua ibu-ibu di pasar Seluma pasti takut. Cuman kalau untuk trauma sampai sekarang alhamdulillah enggak trauma.
Ya. Apa yang paling ditakuti, Bu? Tadi bilang Ibu kan masih takut gitu. Ibu-ibu di pasar Seluma, apa yang paling ditakuti oleh ibu-ibu di pasar Seluma?
Ya kalau untuk masalah ibu-ibu ketakutan sama si aparat kepolisian, pihak kepolisian selalu berjaga-jaga di tempat dan selalu berbicara kasar atau ngomong kasar sama ibu-ibu. Dan terus kalau kami melihat dan menengok lokasi tambang itu, kami mau bertanya pihak kepolisian itu polisi sudah, kalau bahasa kami polisi itu sudah marah gitu. Polisi tidak mau melihat masyarakat pasar Seluma yang menolak tambang itu ada di lokasi tambang. Itu sebenarnya ibu-ibu di situ merasa ketakutan. Ketakutannya karena sementara kami ibu-ibu kalau itu menengok tambang tuh orangnya sedikit-sedikit. Tapi kalau orangnya banyak kami tidak akan takut. Cuman yang kami takuti kalau kami orangnya sedikit, kami takut gitu nah. Yang kami takut itu tidak ada orang yang melihat kami kalau kami diperlakukan secara kasar kayak gitu nah. Kalau kami itu banyak orangnya kami tidak takut kayak gitu.
Okay. Anyone want to ask question to Ibu Fitri? Saya juga kadang itu merasa, oh ya, Monica, what is like the question? You can ask the question. Monica mau tanya ya, Bu.
Yeah. Hi, Bu Fitri. So, like you mentioned, that for a protest to succeed, hi. For a protest to succeed, you need large gatherings for support as well as witnesses. That was very interesting. What do you do? What kind of methods do you use when people are scared to join? Because the risks are real. They can actually get jailed or beaten up. And people understandably are scared to join. What do you do in those situations?
Kalau untuk masalah untuk demo, kami tidak takut, kebakar resiko. Kalau resiko itu kami sudah siap. Walaupun di penjara, walaupun dipukuli, kami sudah siap karena kami waktu dibubarkan secara paksa kami sudah mendapat kekerasan di sana. Kalau untuk masalah resiko kami tidak takut, Mbak.
Kami sudah tahu responnya itu apa.
Cuman di sini kami minta kepada pemerintah Pasar Seluma, bagaimana cara tambang itu pergi dari desa kami, kayak gitu aja. Kalau untuk takut, itu pasti takut.
Cuman kalau untuk trauma itu kami sudah nggak ada trauma.
Kalau masalah kami itu takut pada risiko, kami tidak akan takut risiko. Kami sudah tahu risikonya.
Ya, terima kasih Bu Fitri. I think she's getting emotional, but we will give her a space to take a rest. No more question for now, so Bu Fitri can take a rest now. Okay, I think like any question from audience here, if you want to ask question to Nyimas and Monica, Bu Fitri istirahat dulu ya sambil mendengarkan diskusi ini biar bisa bernafas ya Bu Fitri.
Iya.
Oke, terima kasih Bu Fitri istirahat dulu. Oke, anyone want to ask questions? If you want, Sharon is not here. So I think like what makes so this is like maybe like a very difficult time for all these women, and this is why this angle is very important because otherwise they will have no chance to share their story. Even though it is hard for them, I'm pretty sure like they worry that they will get arrested. They're still afraid about that, but they have to do that because like for example in case of Pasar Seluma, the men once like get arrested and even like went to the court and the judge sentence them with guilty and they have to stay in a jail for like 6 months and one year. So that's why the woman say that this time it needs to be the woman because they don't want to see their husband in a prison again. So they are hoping if the woman stand in front, like on the forefront, the police will not do something that harm them. But in the opposite, if you read our article, it's clear that the police, all these police, force them physically, force them to leave, to force them to leave the mining. So so all these women in Pasar Seruma, they have each other in a purpose that no one of them get arrested. But eventually, two women got arrested. And in the video, in the article, if you read the article, it's clear that all these women were crying, including the children, and the police kept forcing them to leave the site. So it's like the fact that the police don't really care whether you're man and woman. They feel like doing the same thing. But the woman have pledged that they're not going to give up and they're not going to give uh, they're not going to let their husband to be in prison. So they have to do that. So that's why this is like sometimes like if the woman tell the story, they getting emotional because usually they are just working at home and taking care of the children. Now they have to like spend at least the half of the day to check the mining almost every day sometimes, and then they have to join the protest. So it's their real life now. So between the domestic and public, so they have to do that both. And it's very tiring for them, very, very emotional because every time the police they say something that the woman consider very harmful. Like it's not appropriate, especially this woman like wearing hijab and they are from remote island. They are very polite person, and then they have to face this police. So it's a new world for them, and it's very hard and difficult. So that's why it's very hard even to tell and retell the story. Yeah, that's it. I think that's it. I think anyone want to share here or want to ask question? Yeah. No one. Ade, is there any question from the social media
No,
or
there is no
from the
question.
YouTube?
There is no question
Okay.
from YouTube Live.
Okay. Okay. I think if there is no question, I think. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think like before we end the discussion, I want Monica to share another story about the mother in India who lost their son because the son protesting on the sand mining. So Monica, can you tell that story?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Febri. So the other story that we brought out about women, the first one was about how women were harassed when they asserted their democratic rights to protest as citizens. And the second story, women's story we got was about mothers who have lost their young sons who were working in sand mining. So I would say this was the most heart-wrenching of the stories that we came across while reporting on sand mining in Bihar. These were all 18, 20-year-old boys, and they took up unsafe jobs in sand mines because there are hardly any alternate jobs. Working in farms is not as lucrative as a sand mining job, even if it's very, very unsafe. Uh, Many young men are willing to take that up, and these young men that we are talking about, they took up these jobs to look after their parents, their families, and now the parents have been left unsupported. So one boy, he was 18. He came back home from his school when his school shut down during the COVID-19 pandemic, and he took up driving a sand tractor to make some quick money, like a lot of his friends were doing at that time. And driving a truck out of a sand pit is very, very risky. It's a steep climb out of a very, very deep sand pit, and you don't really have a good grip. And the trolley behind you is overloaded with sand. So the engine, so there is the tractor engine and there is the overloaded trolley, and the engine sometimes just topples. And this is what happen to this kid. He got crushed under the engine of the same tractor that he was driving, and it was really heartbreaking to find out that a lot of young boys have died in similar accidents, like in very similar accidents, getting crushed under the tractor engines. Another 23-year-old died when there was a cooking gas explosion on board a sand boat. When sand mining workers go on the boat, they are there overnight and they cook on the boat. And that's what he was preparing for when the explosion happened. Another boy was he was run over by an overspeeding truck that was transporting sand. That's another very common a form of accidental deaths in that part of the country. And we spoke to some mothers, and they were inconsolable, understandably. And that was seeing that how these young boys were forced into these jobs for lack of a better option, seemingly to support their parents, and now it's the old parents, they are left unsupported in their old age. It is literally a village full of unsupported parents.
Yeah, that's the story of the mother that lost their sons that we cover from India. Thank you, Monica, for sharing that story. So many story that talk great story, not great like good story, like good. I mean, tragic and sad, unfortunate story covered by Monica, which we can learn like the different layer of impact experienced by the one. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask again. Anyone want to ask the question? If not, that I want to hear from Bu Fitri what her hope in the future for her village. Bu Fitri, bisakah Ibu ungkapkan harapan-harapan Ibu untuk desa pasar Seluma di masa depan? Adik-adik, mic-nya Ibu Fitri. Oke, Bu Fitri, harapannya apa di masa depan untuk desa pasar Seluma?
Kalau harapan untuk masa depan, semoga di pasar Seluma tidak ada lagi tambang-tambang selanjutnya untuk memasuki lokasi pasar Seluma. Karena kami tidak ingin lagi ada tambang di pasar Seluma. Kalau terus masih terus tambang itu pasir
Masih tambang itu masih. Maka kami masyarakat pasar Seluma
masih akan selalu pro dan kontra terus.
Ya, dan itu akan memecah belah warga ya Ibu ya?
Iya, terpecah menjadi dua. Ada yang pro, ada yang kontra. Dan terus untuk kedepannya kami tidak ada lagi tambang, dan tanpa adanya tambang kami sudah sejahtera. Kami sudah cukup. Tanpa adanya tambang kami masyarakat pasar Seluma harmonis. Kalau ada tambang kami tidak damai. Kami selalu terjadi pro dan kontra di antara sama-sama kami sendiri.
Oke, terima kasih Bu. Semoga harapannya tercapai ya Bu ya. Terima kasih Bu Fitri sudah berbagi, walaupun sulit untuk berbagi. Ya, terima kasih ya Bu ya, atas waktunya. Okay, I think that's it. I think right. If there is no question, I would like to thank to all the speakers here, Nyimas, Monica, Sharon, including Ibu Fitri, our surprise guest. Apologize that I insist. I always insist. It's not. I just want to make sure everyone able to meet Bu Fitri. That's why. And also why I insist like for 15 minutes to assist her to turn on the interpretation, because I want Bu Fitri to know this, to listen to the story from Kenya and India, so she's not going to feel that she's alone. So Bu Fitri, you're not alone. There are so many women in India and Kenya and Cambodia also experience the same with you. So that's why I insist her to listen to the interpretation. So apologize. I am stubborn and I always like insist something happen, because I know this is going to be great chance for her to listen the story of the woman from the other countries. So with the limited internet connection in Pasar Seluma Bengkulu, with the limited of language skill, finally she's able to join and listen to all the stories. Thank you also to other speakers and audience here. Even though you're not the other not here, but we will put the discussion on YouTube, so everyone can always like visit and revisit again and listen about the story of all these women, including the story of Ibu Fitri. Thank you so much, and see you on the next discussions. On the current angle, Carol will be the one who presents the discussion. Thank you and see you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Bu Fitri. Terima
Makasih
kasih
Bu
Bu Fitri.
Fitri.
Thank you.
Terima kasih Bu Fitri.
Ya,
Sampai
Pep.
jumpa.